Imagine you've just killed an animal. There's enough meat to feed your group today. But tomorrow, the meat starts smelling different. A few days later, it's crawling with insects. And there is no refrigerator, no freezer, no plastic wrap, no expiration date telling you exactly when to panic. So how did ancient humans keep food from rotting? The answer isn't that they hid food from decay. They learned to control decay itself. And once they did, a meal could become a supply. A supply could become a season of food. And a season of food could change where humans could live. Because fresh food has one enormous problem. It doesn't stay fresh. The first trick was brutally simple. Take the water out. Drying may be one of humanity's oldest preservation strategies. Cut meat or fish into thinner pieces. Expose them to dry air, sun, or controlled heat. As moisture disappears, many of the microorganisms that cause food to spoil lose the environment they need to multiply. Suddenly, something that might have lasted only a short time could become much more useful. And this worked for more than meat. Fruits could be dried. Plants could be dried. Fish could be dried. Grains could be dried and stored. The basic idea was almost laughably primitive. Remove what spoilage needs, and the food gets harder to destroy. But there was another problem. What if the weather was wet? What if insects found your food? What if you wanted to preserve meat while also keeping it away from animals? Then humans discovered another weapon: smoke. Smoking food did more than give it a distinctive flavor. Smoke could help dry the surface and expose food to compounds that discourage some microbes and insects. So a fire became more than a way to cook dinner. It became part of a preservation system. Food above the fire, heat below, smoke everywhere. And slowly, the food lost moisture while gaining protection. But then humans found something even stranger: salt. Salt doesn't merely make food taste better. It pulls water away from food and makes the environment much less friendly to many microorganisms. And humans eventually became extremely good at exploiting this. Meat could be salted. Fish could be salted. Vegetables could be packed in salty brine. Salt became valuable enough to become an important commodity in ancient societies. And here's the strange part. They didn't need to understand bacteria. They didn't need microscopes. They only needed to notice the pattern. Food treated this way lasted longer. So they kept doing it, generation after generation. Then comes one of the weirdest solutions of all. Instead of stopping microorganisms completely, humans learned to let the right microorganisms take over. That's fermentation. Fermentation sounds like food going bad. And technically, something is happening to the food. But certain microorganisms can transform sugars and other nutrients into acids, alcohol, gases, and other compounds that make the environment harder for many harmful microbes to occupy. That basic principle gave humans foods that could last far longer than their original ingredients. Milk could become fermented dairy. Vegetables could become sour preserved foods. Fish could be fermented. And archaeological evidence from Scandinavia suggests fish fermentation was already happening around 9,200 years ago. So ancient humans weren't always trying to stop microbes. Sometimes they were recruiting them. But food didn't only need protection from invisible organisms. It needed protection from very visible thieves: rats, insects, moisture, heat, and other hungry humans. This is where storage technology becomes surprisingly sophisticated. Instead of leaving grain sitting above ground, people could bury it. Underground pits could create a cooler, more stable environment. And when properly sealed, oxygen inside the pit could fall while carbon dioxide increased, helping prevent further decay and allowing grain to remain stored until the seal was broken. Archaeologists have found storage pits across ancient settlements. At Kamonkalehuk in central Anatolia, for example, storage pits were part of ordinary domestic installations during the 2nd and 1st millennia BC. So the ancient food problem wasn't simply, how do we keep today's dinner? It became, how do we hide enough food from heat, moisture, insects, animals, and decay to survive a future we can't predict? And this changes the entire story, because preservation wasn't just a kitchen trick. It was a survival technology. Imagine a successful hunt. You suddenly have far more meat than your group can eat. Without preservation, that abundance is temporary. With preservation, the same hunt becomes a food reserve. Now, imagine doing this repeatedly. You can prepare for winter. You can survive a bad hunting season. You can travel farther. You can support people who aren't currently hunting or gathering. And eventually, you can build communities around stored food. That is a massive shift. And here's the biggest misconception. Ancient humans weren't simply desperately trying to keep food edible for one extra day. They were learning something much bigger. Food could be separated from time. Fresh food belongs to today. Preserved food belongs to the future. Drying separated food from moisture. Smoking separated it from insects and some forms of microbial spoilage. Salting changed its water availability. Fermentation changed its microbial environment. Storage pits separated grain from heat, pests, and the open air. Different problems, different tools. Same objective: make today's food survive tomorrow. And humans got remarkably inventive with extreme environments too. In the Andes, people developed chino, a preserved potato made through repeated freezing and drying at high altitude. The technique could turn a highly perishable crop into something capable of lasting for years. Archaeologists recently found 500-year-old examples of chino in an Inca storage context in Peru. Think about what that means. A potato normally has a clock ticking against it. Freeze it, dry it, transform it, and suddenly the clock gets much slower. Today, we open a refrigerator without thinking about it. We put leftovers inside. We close the door. And technology quietly takes over the problem. Ancient humans had no such luxury. They had sun, smoke, salt, cold, air, earth, and generations of accumulated observation. They didn't know about microbes the way we do, but they knew something equally important. If you change the environment around food, you can change what happens to the food. And that simple discovery helped turn unpredictable meals into predictable supplies. So the next time you open your refrigerator and wonder whether yesterday's leftovers are still safe, remember that you're using the latest chapter of a problem humans have been solving for thousands of years. The refrigerator didn't invent food preservation. It just made the ancient battle against rot extremely convenient. And somewhere along the way, humans learned one of the most useful tricks in history. Don't just find food, make it last. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for similar ones and feel free to drop suggestions for the next video in the comments.